Okay, The Mole Season 2 episodes 6 through 8 have been released. I'm 100% certain I know who the mole is at this point, and I'm gonna go through all of the data points. And let me tell you, this is not the person that you're suspecting. I'm gonna reveal who I believe the mole to be and give you guys all of the reasons why. But first, let's recap through everything that's happened so far. Starting with episode 6, we find out that Neesh drained the pot. This seems like desperation to me. It doesn't seem like someone who's the mole. Again, I don't think it's Neesh, and I think this just confirmed that even further for me. Now, something that you guys probably didn't notice is that Ryan is sitting at her desk tapping her fingernails. You don't know is that production actually prompted Kasi to do the same thing during eliminations, and it is the same production company. So basically what would happen is when everyone was supposed to look nervous, Kasi would tap her fingernails like this audibly so that I could hear it, and she did this in front of me during eliminations to make me think that she was nervous. I'm wondering if production prompted Ryan to make the same nervous tap. Also, Muna seems genuinely angry about Neesh taking all of that money, which makes me less suspicious of her being the mole. I don't think that the mole would be that genuinely angry, and I feel like you could see the emotion in her. Deanna starts crying, Hannah gets upset, along with Q, and I feel like big emotions, big reactions equal genuine people. In this moment, it seemed kind of like Mike and Sean and Ryan were just bandwagoning, as in they were angry about it, but they really weren't showing real, genuine hurt, upsetness, and emotion. Q goes home, but it's so obviously not Q that, you know, we already knew this, and it doesn't dwindle down the list at all. Now the contestants get the opportunity to bring Q back. And need I remind you, in season 1, Kasi was one of the only people to vote to bring Dom back. So is the mole also now voting to bring Q back? Ryan and Sean both tried so hard to keep Q from coming back into the game with $20,000. Mike also made a small attempt, but it seemed like he kind of gave up. Now entering into the next mission, I just don't understand why they put Deanna in the water in the cave system when she has claustrophobia. It seems like they could have put her in a better group. I would have loved to have been there for that discussion to really see who was the one suggesting that, maybe knowing that Deanna would slow them down. But it doesn't make me suspicious of Deanna at all, because as I've stated before, her emotions seem real, raw, and genuine, and I cannot imagine her being the mole. She's completely off my list. Something that I find interesting is that Sean completely ignores Muna's suggestion. Muna seems to know the answer, and Sean completely ignores her. But then on the contrary, Muna lets it happen. She knows the answer, she says it out loud, and she allows Sean to basically go with the opposite. Then we get to the end, and Ryan and Mike are both Team Fish, while on the other team, Sean is trying to make them go for the bird. So again, my top 3 suspects, Ryan, Mike, and Sean, are all going against the grain and saying and doing things that are very suspicious and clearly wrong. And people said that what Hannah did was suspicious by grabbing the fish, but she just seemed genuinely annoyed by Neesh. And I think at that point, whatever Neesh said, she was gonna do the opposite, just simply because she was annoyed. But moving on to the bomb mission, we know who everyone is voting for, basically except for Ryan, and they take this moment to dive into the fact that Ryan is suspicious of Michael. But her interview reminded me of Kasi and seemed so fake. Now Sean is saying that he wants to open a clue, and he's being so blatantly obvious about sabotage. It's like, we know he's sabotaging on purpose, but is it because he's just trying to be annoying and make people think that he's the mole? Or is it because he's the mole? Also, in the back of my mind, I'm remembering that Tony got eliminated based off of a suspicion of either Sean or Michael. So if he did go all in on either of those guys, maybe neither one of them is the mole. Then it's time to cut the wire, and we see that Ryan and Mike both cut the wrong wire. It seemed like the comms were very confusing, but I actually have a conspiracy theory on this entire scene, and I'm relating it back to Joy and Jacob. Joy and Jacob were always #1 on so many people's list. They were the most suspicious people, and they were constantly together. They knew that everyone was suspicious of them, so they decided to get together and sabotage things. I think that Mike and Ryan made this same alliance in that room. I could be totally wrong about this, but it seems like both Mike and Ryan maybe wanted to throw suspicion on themselves and made a pact without the cameras covering it. But Ryan, Mike, if you want to drop a comment below and let me know, be my guest. Now we go to negotiations between Sean and Muna. They either get $50,000 cash or an exemption. Muna is literally crying, nervous, shaking. Like I can see her body trembling because she wants that $50,000. I just have to say, this mission sucks. If I were in the show at this point and had been presented this mission, honestly, it just sucks and you have to go for exemption. No matter what, you have to go for exemption because you can't risk the other team getting exemption and making it so that you're more likely to go home. Okay, so we dive into episode 8 where Neesh gets eliminated. Because of the interviews that Neesh had beforehand, I'm thinking that he probably thought the mole was Hannah, which reconfirms to me that Hannah is not the mole. Entering into the next mission, we have Ryan and Deanna who are taken into a boat warehouse thing. As you guys know, Ryan is one of my top suspects, so I was thinking from a production standpoint, would it be smart to capture the mole and put them in this room alone with Deanna? And the answer is yes, because now there's only one person that can observe the sabotage if it happens. And it's really strange that in all of these interviews, everyone is saying that they're suspicious of Sean, but he's trying so hard to be suspicious that it's almost kind of like annoying. And then Ryan calls a clock tower a statue, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew she was sus. I was just waiting for that blatant moment of sabotage. But then again, she's really helpful in calling out that the place is red. She helps them get the window open and she helps them get unshackled. Now, Muna misses the second key, but honestly, I think that was totally genuine. I would not have suspected there to be 2 keys in there either. Now I'm sitting here thinking, you know, would production allow the sabotage from Ryan to be so blatant? But at some point, production has to be throwing suspicion onto a certain person to make it seem real. So this almost confirms my suspicion on Ryan. Like, I'm getting pretty tunnel vision, but I'm trying not to because I know how this show works. You gotta keep your options open or you're going home. So now Hannah gets nominated as most trustworthy and she gets to go into a room and open these dinner plates that have different items on them. She gets told from the mole that the $20,000 is under basket 2. I'm thinking in my head, would the mole actually lie about that? Because everyone knows that they can't trust the mole. So it might be smart for the mole to tell the truth, knowing that the players would think, I can't trust the mole. Either way, I would not want to be in Hannah's position right now because if she gets the game over, I would literally cry. If I were her, I would just cry because this is a really tough position to be in. It could literally all be over in a split second by opening the wrong basket. So she picks basket number 3, which has the $20,000 in it. I thought that was kind of interesting and it almost made me go, man, is Hannah the mole? Cause like, how did she know? Maybe it was just a lucky guess. Then we're told that the mole says the exemption is under basket 4. But if the mole is gonna lie about where the $20,000 is, wouldn't we also suspect that the mole would lie about where the exemption is? If I were Hannah, I would not take the risk. It ends right there. We're left on the worst cliffhanger ever, and I think it's so interesting that there's 6 players still left in the game. So let's talk about who I've taken off of my list as most suspicious players. Deanna is off my list, and Hannah is off my list. I don't know why, but I just do not get mole vibes from either of these people. If it ends up being one of them and I got duped, I'll literally fall out of this chair. Like, wow. Now let's rank these players from least suspicious to most suspicious. Coming in at number 6, we have Deanna. Deanna is way too full of emotions. Her reactions are very genuine, very dramatic, and it seems like she's been a team player the whole time. I haven't seen blatant sabotage, so Deanna is number 6 on my list. Next, we have Hannah. Maybe I'm crazy, but I just see Hannah in me. Her story arc is the same. She had an alliance in which, well, hers was a love alliance, mine was just a friendship, and then she ended up staying, her alliance went home, and then, you know, she goes on to be suspicious and sabotage and play strategic, and for some reason, I just don't see her being the mole because I see her playing the same role that I played. Coming in at the number 4 position is Muna. Muna seems so genuine and she's like shaking and nervous every time she sees money. I've seen her cry, and I just really don't think the mole would have that much of a reaction if they had already gotten money from production to sabotage, which we all know the mole does get paid by production to sabotage. sabotage. Number 3 for me is Mike. He's always been someone who seems to be genuine and he seems to mess things up a lot, but they always seem like a genuine mistake. He's also a very good liar and very devious, but he seems to wear that on his sleeve. So Mike is sus for me, but he's not that sus. My number 2 spot is Sean. Sean is one of those people that it almost seems like a reverse psychology, double blind. He's very blatantly obvious and he's a likable character, but he's really annoying. And he continues to do these very annoying things, like he's trying to be, you know, suspicious, but is he actually just suspicious? I don't know. There's a lot of data points that add up for me for Sean being the mole. But my number 1 spot is Little Miss Ryan, who is flying beautifully under the radar. She's continuing to be in groups and agree with people who are sabotaging. Is the strategy of the mole to lay low, let someone else make the suggestion and agree to it? That's what Kasi did on our season. I don't know. What do you guys think? I hope this video gave you some good insights into the show and how things work, how sabotage works, from someone who's also been on it. And clearly, I don't know who it is, but these are my suspicions. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And I can't wait to watch the finale and see if we're right.